All right, it is March 12th, 2024. This is James Taylor's birthday, in case anybody knows. I don't know why I know these things, but these are things I just happen to know. Okay. So this is one of those rare days when I haven't had my own formal meditation before the class. So I'll probably be really, you know, anyway, who knows what I'll be. Um, I did, follow my breath when I was in the doctor's office this morning. So I don't know if that counts. So yeah, let's begin. Just settling back and settling into a posture that supports your awareness and your calming, your serenity. You can close your eyes or just lower your gaze. Bringing awareness first into the body, just feeling how you're holding your body, feeling the breath moving in the body. Ajahn Buddhadasa calls the breath the body conditioner, that the way we breathe conditions the state of the body, the feelings and sensations. So it can be helpful to first just imagine that and then see if you can connect to that sense of your breath working with your entire body, having an impact and effect on the body. We can particularly see that in a practice like Qigong, where we're connecting the movements of the body with the movements of the breath. And the first way that I think this is clear is how we can relax on exhalations. You might work with that a little bit, just letting each exhalation be a release, a softening, even as you hold your posture. Being aware of the whole breath, breathing in, breathing out. And even as we work with the breath, the mind, the thoughts may still keep generating words and images in the mind. Or we just let them move through, flow through, let them go. Keep coming back to the simple breath, the in breath, the out breath. Letting the body settle, calm. And as this calming and settling happens, we may become aware of a more subtle experience, the feeling tone, or just feeling, seeing that there's another level of experience more subtle than the body. In the suttas, this is identified as being either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. This doesn't quite capture the more subtle colors of feeling. We have to start to attune to this, explore and discover the level of feeling. It's an area that's connected to both body and mind, that links the body and mind. It is felt in the body and experienced in the mind. It's related to emotion, mood, but also has an energetic quality that is not so identifiable as a mood or an emotion, or just happening on this visceral level. It's important element of insight meditation is to discover this world, this aspect of our life, to become comfortable in being with it, opening to it, allowing it. We breathe with feeling tone. Buddhadasa calls feeling tone the mind conditioner. Breath is body conditioner, feeling is mind conditioner. Mind states arise out of feeling. So calming the feeling tone helps to calm the mind states. The agitated feeling conditions agitated mind states. Breathing with feeling tone tends to calm the feeling tone and thus calm the mind states. Well, um, hmm, interesting. I thought I had notes in here. And when I wrote notes, uh, all right. Oh, it's really, um, I'm gonna go see if my other notebook has the notes that I'm looking for. 1 second. Thank you, Holly. For those in the Bay Area, sorry, um, we're going to be uh, Ann Boulder and I are teaching a day long this Saturday days, the 16th, Insight Santa Cruz from 10 to 5, Dharma and Recovery Day. So anybody who can make it, it'd be great to see people in person. I know a lot of you are not uh, within reach of that. Um, in April, I'm going to be teaching.
Kevin,
Yes,
may I say
go.
it's hybrid also,
Oh, it is hybrid. There you go.
online
Thank you.
too.
Um, I'm having an announcement dysphoria here, so Um, great. Yeah, so join us. Can we find the link to that? Anybody have the link to if you can find it and maybe throw it in the chat. Then in April I'm going to
I
be
have it. I have
okay,
it.
great. Great. Um, it's coming, everybody. We'll get the link in there. April, I'm going to be teaching a series for San Francisco Dharma Collective, which is now on 24th Street. I haven't been there yet, but it's the old kind of evolved out of Against the Stream. Uh, they got out of the stream now and they're into the collective. And so Thursday nights in April, 7 o'clock in San Francisco. So that'll be fun. And then starting in May, the long anticipated return of the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery uh, once monthly class. There have been those who have been asking me to restart that. So that will be alive and probably be hybrid too. Just have to take my laptop along. Thursday nights in April, yes. Um, all 4 of the Thursdays in April. And so yeah, some live things coming up, but I'm going to be doing the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery will be on the second Tuesday. It used to be on the fourth Tuesday, and I told them like it was really hard to remember which was the fourth Tuesday for people. The second Tuesday isn't that hard to keep up with. And so anyway, I met with two of the monastics this week. Lovely time to hang out with them. And or last week, whenever. Uh, so so there you go. And then there is a series of I'll say a series, they're not connected, but I'm teaching a retreat at Big Bear, co-teaching at Big Bear Retreat Center in May with Vimala Sara. And then I'm teaching a 3-day weekend in June for the Flowering Lotus Sangha, which is they're based in Mississippi, but I think the retreat's going to be in Alabama. And then in July, Greg Bergament and I are going to be in Southeast Indiana for, so all of those things are on my website, on my events calendar. Everything, yeah, I think everything that I've just mentioned is on there. So that's the news. Sorry. So, so let's get to some Dharma. I've mentioned this, and I actually posted it on Facebook this week. This wonderful book that was created uh, in honor of Ajahn Pasanno for his 50 years. It says it's called More Than Mindfulness. I got a hard copy of it. uh, it's online for free. This book is dedicated to Lungpor Pasanno. That's an honorific Lumpur Pasanno with respect and gratitude, and to honor his 50 years of monastic life. So this was just kind of came out in January. More Than Mindfulness, Widening the Field of Practice. And it's a collection of talks from the Thai forest monks who are in the Ajahn Chah tradition. So Ajahn Sumedho, Ajahn Sucitto, Ajahn Viradhamma, Ajahn Sona, Ajahn Kuran Damo. Wonderful, wonderful talks. And I've been reading them kind of as part of my daily practice. And I decided to start kind of outlining them and using them as a teaching guide. So each week I'm now for the next several weeks, I'm going to uh, give a talk. My talk on Tuesdays is going to be based on one of these. And yeah, just you can download it if you have a Kindle or some way of reading ebooks. Um, you can get it for free off the Abhayagiri website. Um, and just download it. That's what I did originally, and then I liked it so much you can write to them and ask them to send you a hard copy for free. Of course, it's nice to make a donation.
Sorry, I zoned out for a minute. I was answering somebody's question. What was the name of the book?
It's called More Than Mindfulness.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there we go. Angela's got it.
Oh, great. Thanks, Angela.
She's on the ball. She's getting back up to speed. It takes a while,
Yeah, I got to watch my P's and Q's
I
now.
know, because she's gonna. So the first talk, or the first chapter, is called "The Need for Balance," and it's by Ajahn Pasanno, and it is framed around uh, one of the lists uh, in Buddhism called the five spiritual faculties, um, and and they are often talked about. The five spiritual faculties are often talked about as being four balancing qualities that are kind of balanced by mindfulness. So the first of the spiritual faculties is mindfulness, and then faith and wisdom, and concentration and effort. So here's a little of what he says. He says, faith and wisdom need to be in balance. He says, faith without wisdom is just blindly believing something. So, of course, we can understand that in our culture, in Western uh, religious culture, faith is really emphasized, right? And I think, we run into this immediately in the 12 steps because the 12 steps are, based in a Judeo-Christian model, which is a faith-based model, not, I dare say, not a wisdom-based model. Um, and I think this is the first challenge for many people with, obviously, this is kind of the reason we're all here in a way. It's sort of the starting point of of Dharma and recovery is trying to find a way of working the steps or working a recovery program that isn't just about turning it over to some illusory God. But he goes on to say, wisdom needs faith, quote, because you can't just be analyzing and logically pounding out a system of practice through the intellect. So this is also something that comes up in the 12-step literature, particularly in the kind of trying to think your way, as they say, think your way into right action, and or or just the general ways that they talk about trying to kind of figure out your problem and logically solve your addiction, right? Like, oh, I see it doesn't, well, I'll just stop. And as you said, like pounding out a system of practice through the intellect, and we find this in the meditation world as well, the pursuit of the perfect practice, right? Oh, this, this visualization or this loving kindness, that's it for me. Just doing these phrases or, oh, that's Tibetans, the Kala chakra. I need to have that Kala chakra initiation so that I can become enlightened. And it's really this idea that we're going to figure out some uh, system that's going to solve the problem of human suffering. And, you know, and it's helpful to start with some kind of a form, but when we start to investigate the mind and work with the mind, we realize that the mind doesn't have form. And so in order to control the mind with form, that there are just limits. You come up to the limits of that. Yes, it can get you started. Okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to count my breaths, or I'm going to note things, or I'm going to repeat some mantra. Find some structure to get you started because we have to start somewhere, and we have to start with what we have, which is our body and our mind. But eventually, over time, we find, oh, it doesn't really, the mind doesn't really respond to these material impositions, these efforts to run the mind with some system. And so here's where we can see faith, the faith which is more, the non-material, then blends then with wisdom. And we start, something starts to take form, something starts to take shape that is more intuitive. I mean, we could talk about that for a long time. I know, in one breath at a time, um, there's a section that's about this very topic, about balancing faith and wisdom. Um, because wisdom here is sort of standing for intellect, right? It's not just standing for like being wise, because being wise is more than intellect, but it's sort of in place here of sort of intellect versus heart, if we could say mind versus heart, and the need for those to be integrated, to be balanced, that any kind of imbalance in those two factors sends us off track. So then the second connection of balance. Uh, so, so first of all, just to say that in these five spiritual faculties, there's sometimes a sort of blurring or blending of energy and effort as being one thing. So that's something that goes on in this talk somewhat. And so I'll just put that out there. So we'll say effort needs the balance of concentration. Also, energy needs the balance of concentration. Actually, let me talk more about energy because that's more really what I'm talking about here. So Ajahn Pasno says energy can be agitating. It can be addictive. The more I do, the more I will achieve. And this is all quoting from the book. Well, not really. Sometimes the more effort we put in, the more frantic and agitated the mind becomes. I don't know if this is familiar to anybody who's like tried to control their meditation, right? Sometimes the more effort we put in, the more frantic and agitated the mind becomes, right? When you're just struggling. On the other hand, quote, if we are constantly just trying to still the mind without applying some effort, it often tends toward dullness. So here, I think I would replace effort with energy without having energy. He says, there needs to be some energy in the system, but it needs to be balanced. So this is something I've talked about, and I think I was telling Angela this before her retreat that a meditation retreat particularly is a place where you're trying to and balance energy so that you have enough energy, but to stay awake. Because as you settle on a retreat and you get more concentrated, there can be so much calming that it takes you over the line into drowsiness. But if you have too much energy, then you're restless, you can't sit still, or the mind is really agitated. And in a lot of ways, a retreat is just this process of working with that those two factors. And well, there we can, so we're making kind of an effort to balance energy and concentration. But as with everything, going back to faith and wisdom, we're not really in control, particularly of our energy. You can have a cup of coffee, or you can, you know, take some calming breaths, or you can go for a run. You can do various things to affect your energy. But at the end of the day, you're not in control of it. So in our meditation, especially on retreats, we are going to repeatedly be confronted by our lack of control. And then the critical question is, how do I manage that? How do I respond to that? So again, we have a parallel in the 12 steps called powerlessness, right? Powerless over our disease, powerless over our addiction, powerless over alcohol, powerless over people, places, and things. So we're faced with this same kind of conundrum from the external addiction that we face internally in meditation. And here is where we are often guided towards our kind of key prayer, the serenity prayer, which points to acceptance. And this is what I think is the kind of key element of working with these energies, is that we make effort and then we let go. So it's very much then third step response to the first step, right? Letting go and learning to, but within that, in meditation, there is, I think what allows us to do that is that we learn to feel, going back to what I was talking about in the meditation somewhat, that we learn to be with feelings of restlessness, of agitation, of sleepiness, dullness, and further, more disturbing, sadness, grief, anger, learning to be with all that and hold all that. It's not enough to just say, well, just accept it, just let it go. That's not enough, because these things are very intense and they're very triggering. And so we need that we use the breath, but and this is something you guys hear me talk about over and over, that we learn to practice with whatever feelings are coming through. And I think this is just another like key aspect of both becoming a meditator, like who has a comfort level in their practice, and becoming a recovered or recovering person, that we are able to live with the stresses, the the difficulties, the inner challenges that we face in our lives. And again, I mean, these topics, you will find, certainly for me, there are certain key topics that just I have to come back to over and over because everything seems to bring me back to these topics. And for me, it's this ability to sit with what's arising, and which then requires this first huge challenge, which is to actually learn how to feel. And and people tell me this, and I remember going through this, and I have gone through this, and it took me some time. I could probably say years, but less than that to start to be able to work with this and to understand it. And it's a difficult uh, practice to describe because this level, this nonverbal level, is the feeling level is nonverbal, and so to use words to describe it is always going to come up short. But we have to. So I think the way that we start to do this practice is that while you're meditating, you just ask yourself, "What am I feeling?" And then point your attention, try to find a place in the body to start with where you can say, "Oh, I'm feeling something there." And recognizing that it's not quite a sensation, but it's just a feeling. And we just keep asking ourselves, what am I feeling? What am I feeling right now? What are you experiencing? And little by little, we start to tune into this. It's actually a very natural part of the practice. We see that because the Buddha points to it as the second foundation of mindfulness, right? It's the second stage of mindfulness of breathing in the Anapanasati Sutta. It's pay attention to your body. Well, start with pay attention to your breath, then evoke the whole body out of the breath, or let the breath and the whole body kind of merge, and then let that whole system start to settle. And this is what each of us does in our practice to a great extent. We just sit with the breath, sit with the body, and then things start to settle. And we can move into call that tranquility or calm. When we can get to that point where there's just some degree of settling and comfort in the body, then we can turn towards the feeling realm. And this is, as I say, what the Buddha is describing in these suttas, and the way I view it is that we're moving to a subtler realm of experience. The body is the most gross realm of experience, the solid and semi-solid aspect of experience, body, breath. As those quiet, the more subtle realm of feeling, called Vedana, then kind of emerges. And as I say, you can say, what am I feeling? And out of that question kind of can emerge this felt sense. And here then we can start to tune into these things that are challenging, that are triggering. And as I said in the guided meditation, Ajahn Buddhadasa calls this aspect of experience the mind conditioner. And it's really, really helpful, I think, that idea to realize, yeah, my mental states, and when I get triggered, that's a mental state, right? My mental states are triggered by the way I'm feeling. I mean, oh, well, it's pretty obvious, right? But what we're saying is that if we start to attune to this whole system, then we become less the victim of just getting triggered, over and over. We start to be able to move with these energies, breathe with these energies, feel them. We don't have to like them, but we can ride them out and they're impermanent. So breathe with them, let them through. And we're no longer in this sort of conflicted relationship with the feeling realm. We're now in a relationship of openness, of acceptance, of even kindness toward these feelings, towards ourselves, towards the reality of us having to have this difficult aspect, both difficult and precious aspect of existence. I mean, this is the realm of existence truly that makes life worth living is the felt realm, is the joy that can come out of that realm, the richness, the love that comes out of that realm. So this is let me go back to Ajahn Pasno, because this is where I think, we're working with this as we wisdom and faith in balance, energy and concentration in balance. He says, you need to be attuning to these different qualities. That's what mindfulness is for. Well, that's quite a statement, isn't it? Because don't we, I think it's a natural thing that after you've been practicing for a while, there are times when you just go like, why am I doing this? What what's the point of this? I'm just sitting here like breathing. Like, why? Why don't I get something, do something constructive? We need to be attuning to these different qualities, faith and wisdom, energy and concentration, to other qualities. That's what mindfulness is for. He says, what am I experiencing? Is it useful? Is it beneficial? Is it in line with the Dhamma? Mindfulness isn't just some global awareness. It isn't a non-discriminating attention. That's a really interesting statement, right? Because that's mindfulness is often described as that very thing, a non-discriminating attention. It says it's not just what do I do? Well, okay. What he's saying is that I need to learn things through paying attention. What am I experiencing? First of all, that's the non-discriminating attention. But then, is it useful? Is it beneficial? Is it in line with the Dharma? So this is, to say that meditation and mindfulness, that's not a passive activity. It's like, oh, that's just what's happening. Uh, no, we need to respond wisely to what's happening. Do I want to cultivate this quality that's arising, or do I want to let it go? Well, if I understand the Dharma, I know that if it's anger, I want to let it go. If it's loving kindness, I want to cultivate it. If it's peace, I want to cultivate it. If it's agitation, I want to let it go. Right? So this is wi applying wisdom to the experience, not just passively going, oh, it's all just being swept away by these feelings. Nothing I can do about it. No, I mean, that's why we're here, is to learn to be with and let go of the unwholesome qualities, to learn to be with and cultivate the wholesome qualities. But this is the practice in a nutshell. It's beautifully uh, outlined, of course, by Ajahn Pasano. What am I experiencing? Is it useful? Is it beneficial? Is it in line with the Dharma? He goes on to say, on Dharma practice. It's not just what do I do in meditation to feel better? It's also what do I do in my daily life so that I feel a sense of ease and well-being? How do I integrate this into my life? And then, not surprisingly, Ajahn Pasno starts to talk about the precepts because every talk he gives, he talks about the precepts. He says it's a good start to integrate this. The precepts are a good start for integrating this practice in your life. He says, quote, viewing the precepts not just as restrictive guidelines which force me to give up certain behaviors, but looking at what makes me feel good and what makes others feel good. So, wow, like the precepts are a way of feeling good? Yeah, I thought they were just rules. No, like, oh, I see that by being non-harming and by being generous and by speaking wisely, it makes me feel good. Yeah, it does make, that's true. Like, being sober makes me feel good. He says about the fifth precept, he says it's for keeping the mind as clear as possible. We already have the intoxicating habits of greed, hatred, and delusion. Goes on to say that the precepts help us develop respect for ourselves. It's because one respects oneself that one is committed to not nurturing anger and ill will, not nurturing the kind of greed that ends up being selfish and self-centered. And then, of course, he then brings in the three refuges. What is worthy of respect? Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Finally, he says, Ajahn Chah emphasized patience in practice. Patience is about being willing to be present with whatever conditions are present. Even pleasant conditions can make us drift, thinking about how we're getting somewhere now. So patience, he brings us back to patience. So that's the first chapter of More Than Mindfulness, again, called The Need for Balance by Ajahn Pasno. So thank you for your attention. Uh, I can spend a couple minutes with you if some people I know will have to go as we're at the top of the hour. But if there's any comments or questions anybody wanted to bring up, happy to hang out for a few more minutes. Yes, Holly.
I just wonder if you have some words about what is faith. Is it like
Yeah.
just pure knowing, or is it instinct? Or
Mhm.
I mean, I know the intellectual idea of it. In different religions and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Well, first of all, typically faith in Buddhism is talked about more as confidence or trust. So it's certainly not like blind faith, but it's to me, it's the kind of energy that helps me to keep moving even when I'm not sure, uh, when things aren't necessarily clear. So, for instance, I started meditating out of faith because I didn't have any experience of meditation, so I didn't know. I mean, I think we all come to meditation. There has to be a certain amount of faith because we're doing something that on its surface is non-productive and not useful, sitting still, doing nothing, right? And so there's, as you said, an intuition that there's something useful here. And so it gives us we have just enough faith to get started. And the idea with Buddhism is that faith builds upon itself, upon each action. We take a step, we see what the results are. We see, well, that was good. So if that was good and it came from this teacher, the Buddha, then maybe I'll try another thing. I'll try meditating, longer, or I'll try a day long, or I'll start to study the teachings. And then little by little, we're touched, right? And it is very much a heart connection. We feel something joyful. We feel something meaningful it's opening something in our lives, and each time something more opens, we have more faith and more confidence, and then we step further and further into an engagement with the process. So yeah, I see it as that, like an increasing confidence that develops as we engage in the teachings and in the practices. Uh, not sure that I'm not exactly trying to define faith as I'm trying to describe it, the experience of it. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mike, what's up?
Hey, Kevin. Wow, great talk today. I'm really into it. And this idea of Vedana as the mind conditioner and
Mm,
learning to not be kind of in conflict with our feelings and that part of our mind. How do you think that is um, addressed in 12 step, or where do you feel that is?
well, yeah, I haven't thought about that, so I'll try to make something up on the spot. I mean, I was talking about powerlessness, so I think that that's the first place. I mean, we're powerless over, in AA we say we're powerless over alcohol, but in NA I think they have it a little. I like what they say. They say we're powerless over our addiction. They don't say we're powerless over drugs, and that's I think pointing to that the feeling, the experience of craving. We're powerless over craving. So I think I think it's addressed there in terms of seeing its its power, the power of Vedana, the power of feeling. And then I would say that the whole inventory process is really uncovering the karmic causes and conditions behind those states, those the traumas and the suffering that we've both experienced and caused, that's then underlying that is always the feelings. And so I think that step 6 and 7, when we I mean they are whatever character defects and these things. I mean that put the language aside. I think what we're learning to let go of is these triggers. you know I mean, that's the best I can come up with. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that 6 and 7 is kind of what I was wondering
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
If that, because you're kind of processing what you dug up in 4 and 5, and learning to, like you said, have put an effort into dealing with them and then let them go. It
yeah,
then it kind of implies that you're dealing with it at a feeling level, not just an intellectual level. And anyway, really interesting topic. Thanks, Kevin.
yeah, yeah. Good. Thank you. And when we get to Ajahn Suchito's talk, we're going to be delving more into the breath being the body conditioner. So, all right. All right, you guys. Well, very nice to see everyone. Let's see. Well, Santa Cruz this weekend. Yeah, come online. Uh, be with us. If you can get to Santa Cruz. It's a lovely seaside town full of uh, banana slugs and it's got the you got the bumper cars and
Banana
oh
slugs are in this forest.
yes. Well, I know, but no, but see that banana slugs is the UC Santa Cruz. Uh, that's their what you call it. Berkeley has Go Bears, and Santa Cruz has Go Banana Slugs. It's kind of sad, but you go with what you got. I mean, I went to UC Irvine. Our mascot was the anteater, so it's really not, when you kind of go down, you start with UC Berkeley, UCLA, you get bears and things, and then everything sort of degenerates after that. It's unfortunate the UC system has had some problems. Anyway, all right, you guys, we'll see you next Tuesday, if not before. Blessings.
Thank you.
I'll
Kevin.
see you. I'll see you on Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hybrid.
All right, you guys.
Gratitude, Kevin and tribe. Thank you.
All right.